Ever since I could remember, my family dynamics were a puzzle I couldn't solve. There were moments when it seemed like everything was fine until they weren't. I'm Eva Monroe, and my family, well, it's always been a bit off. For as long as I can remember, I felt like I was always a little on the outside looking in. It all started with something simple, something that should have been fun, but instead, it became the first crack in my understanding of how the world worked. I was about 6, sitting on the carpet of our living room on Christmas morning. The tree was littered with presents, and my parents handed me a beautifully wrapped gift. Inside was a porcelain doll, its hair shining like gold and its blue eyes staring back at me with almost unnatural clarity. "This is special, Eva," my mom said softly. "Don't play with it too rough. It's meant to be kept safe." I remember looking at her and nodding, feeling like I'd been given something truly valuable. I placed the doll on a shelf in my room, like it was the crown jewel of my little world. Every night before bed, I'd say, "Good night, Emily," to the doll, as if that small ritual would protect it from harm. Then, 2 weeks later, the thing I feared most happened. Alexander, my little brother, had friends over. I didn't think much of it at the time after all. They were just playing around. But when I came home that evening, I found Emily on the floor. Her delicate face had shattered, the porcelain pieces scattered across my room. My heart dropped. "Mom," I called, barely able to hold it together. "Someone broke my doll." Alexander, standing by the door, fidgeted nervously. "It was an accident, Eva. We were just looking at it and it fell." Mom appeared, calm as always. "It was just an accident, honey," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "You should understand. Boys will be boys, but it wasn't just an accident to me. That doll wasn't just another toy. It was something special, something that I had been entrusted to take care of. I felt my world shattering right along with it. But my parents dismissed my tears. "Just get over it," my dad added, his voice sharp. "We need to focus on more important things." Alexander needs new baseball gear for his season. It wasn't the first time I'd felt like I was invisible in my own family, but it certainly was the first time that I truly realized how little I mattered. My brother's needs always seemed to take precedence, no matter how much effort I put into my own interests. His needs were always urgent. His failures were always excused. I, on the other hand, was just expected to deal with things on my own. It didn't get any easier as the years went by. Everything I wanted, every dream I had was always pushed aside for Alexander. I wanted to join the swim team in high school, but my mom's response was, "We've already spent so much on Alexander's baseball gear this year. Maybe next time." In contrast, Alexander could join any activity he wanted, whether it was baseball, soccer, or guitar lessons. Even if he barely put in the effort, my parents still cheered him on, constantly telling me he had some special talent they couldn't quite pinpoint but believed in deeply. But me? I was just expected to be good at everything without any extra help. By the time I was in middle school, I stopped telling them about the things I excelled at. When I won first place in a track meet or became class representative, I didn't bother to share it. It was always the same conversation. "That's nice, Eva. But have you heard what Alexander's doing now?" My successes were just another thing to overlook, another reminder that I would never be as important as my brother. I learned to live with it, but there came a point when enough was enough. When I was 15, I suffered from an agonizing toothache. My parents were too busy to take me to the dentist, prioritizing Alexander's upcoming baseball championship over my pain. "You'll be fine," my mom said casually. "Just wait till tomorrow when Alexander's game is over. It's not like we can drop everything for you." The pain was unbearable, so I decided to go to Dr. Harrison's clinic by myself. When I walked in, the receptionist could immediately tell something was wrong. "You look like you're in pain," she said. "Let's get you seen right away." Dr. Harrison was kind, and when he diagnosed me, he explained, "You've got a deep cavity. Why didn't you come in sooner?" I shared a little about my family, and he seemed to understand. The pain subsided as he worked, and I felt a strange sense of peace. He wasn't just fixing my teeth, he was teaching me something invaluable. "You need to take care of your own body," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "That's the first step to independence." I started going back to Dr. Harrison's office regularly. There, I learned not just about dentistry, but about resilience. I grew fascinated by the idea of helping people through my own abilities, something that had always seemed so out of reach in my family. One day, Dr. Harrison gave me an old textbook on dentistry. He wrote a note inside, to my future colleague. That was the moment I decided. I wasn't going to let my family's neglect hold me back. I was going to become a dentist, build my own future, and take control of my life. It was a path that would require immense effort and sacrifice, but I was ready for it. I wouldn't let anyone define my worth again. As I held that textbook, I knew there was no turning back. My journey had begun. When I got home that day, I felt like a new person, like something inside of me had shifted. Dr. Harrison didn't just fix my tooth. He gave me a glimpse of something more. He gave me hope that I could have a life of my own, separate from the constant pull of my family's demands. It wasn't just about getting my teeth fixed anymore. It was about fixing my future. But that future, it seemed, had a price. My parents still didn't get it. It wasn't that they didn't care. It was more like they simply couldn't see me the way I saw myself. When I told them about my desire to become a dentist, my father raised his eyebrows, his lips twitching into a frown. "Why don't you aim for something more practical?" he said, his voice tight with that kind of concern that never seemed to go anywhere. "A local university should be fine. You don't need to make things harder than they need to be." "I want to go to Northeastern," I said firmly, holding up the brochure I had been staring at for weeks. "They have the latest research facilities. I want to make the most out of my education." My mom was silent for a moment, her fingers drumming softly on the table. She looked at my dad, who didn't look back. He was still staring at the brochure, his face unreadable. "You know Alexander's got into James University," my mother said quietly, breaking the silence. "It's a great opportunity for him, James. A prestigious, expensive school that had never really been on my radar. But I knew exactly what she was trying to do. They were trying to distract me. They were trying to push me into the corner again, just like they always did, by throwing Alexander's problems at me. Always making his dreams bigger than mine, even when he barely lifted a finger to pursue them. "That's great for Alexander," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But I'm talking about me. I have my own dreams." But my father, as usual, wasn't interested in hearing my side. "It's expensive, Eva. We have to prioritize. Alexander has special needs. He needs a good education. He struggles with academics, and James is a place where he'll get the support he needs." I stared at him, stunned. I've been working hard. I've been getting the grades. I've sacrificed everything just to keep up with him? And now you want me to give it up so he can get special treatment? "Eva, please," my mom said gently, though her words lacked the warmth they usually had. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. You're fine. You don't need all those extra things. You'll be fine with a local school." "No, I'm not fine with that," I said, my voice rising, the anger finally breaking through the calm facade I'd been forcing. "I've worked my ass off for years, and I'm not going to just sit here and watch my life get sidelined because Alexander doesn't care enough to try." There was a moment of silence, the tension hanging thick in the air. My father's eyes softened, but his expression remained unyielding. "Eva, we're a family. We have to take care of each other. You know that." "Yeah, well, I'm tired of taking care of everyone else while I get nothing," I muttered under my breath. But it was loud enough for them to hear. I stood up, suddenly too exhausted to continue. "I'll figure this out on my own." I left the room before either of them could say anything more. It was the same old story. They always acted like Alexander's problems were more important than mine, like I was just a side character in my own life. But I wasn't going to let them keep doing this to me. I was done being invisible. The next few weeks were a blur of college brochures, applications, and visits to the library, burying myself in everything I needed to make my dream a reality. I wasn't going to wait for my parents' approval anymore. I'd spent my whole life doing that, and look where it had gotten me. Now, it was my turn to carve out a path that didn't revolve around them. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt like I was fighting against the world, with everything stacked against me. But it didn't matter. I'd made up my mind, and that was enough. When the scholarship contest for the state's dentistry program came up, I saw it as my ticket out. Over 300 applicants from all over the state, with only 5 scholarships available. The competition was fierce, but I knew I had to give it everything I had. I dedicated every free moment to studying, to researching, to perfecting my skills. I even volunteered at Dr. Harrison's clinic to get some hands-on experience. But despite all my preparation, my parents still didn't see it. I asked them to come with me to the interview in the Capitol, but as usual, they chose Alexander's needs over mine. "Sorry, sweetheart, but we can't make it," my mom said, her voice distracted. "We've got a family event at Alexander's University that day. It's important." I felt the familiar weight of disappointment settle in my chest, but I didn't let it show. I had come too far to let them hold me back now. "I'll go on my own," I said, my voice firm. "This is important to me." The morning of the interview, I woke up at 4:00 a.m., caught a bus, made 3 transfers, and finally arrived at the interview venue, just barely in time. I was nervous as hell, but I didn't let it show. I wasn't about to let all my hard work go to waste just because my parents couldn't be bothered to support me. The interviewers were impressed with my research. The chief interviewer even praised my dental hygiene initiative at a senior center. "It's rare to see such passion and dedication at your age," he said. When the results came out, I was in a small coffee shop, checking my phone anxiously. My heart pounded as I refreshed the page, and when I saw the words "Congratulations, Eva Monroe," I felt like I might burst. I had won the scholarship. My tuition would be covered. I called my parents right away, eager to share the good news. "Mom, Dad, I did it! I won the scholarship," I said, my voice shaking with excitement. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "That's great, honey," my mom said, her voice flat. "But have you heard about Alexander's latest game?" I felt the excitement deflate like a balloon. They couldn't even pretend to care. My parents always found a way to turn everything back to Alexander. It was like they couldn't be happy for me unless it somehow involved him. But this time, I didn't let it get to me. I had worked for this moment. It was mine, and I wasn't going to let them take it away. I ended the call, my hands shaking, but this time, it wasn't from excitement. It was from the realization that nothing was ever going to change. My dreams would always be secondary to Alexander's whims. But this time, I was going to prove them wrong. I wasn't going to let their indifference define me anymore. It was time to move on, to step into the life I had worked so hard to build, even if it meant doing it all on my own. The moment I held that scholarship letter in my hands, something clicked inside of me. It was more than just a win. It was validation. It wasn't just my parents who had brushed me aside, it was the whole world. But in that moment, I proved that I wasn't invisible. I was here, and I was going to make a mark. I wasn't going to let anyone, least of all my family, dictate my worth anymore. But as high as I was riding on that victory, there was still something gnawing at me. The phone call had left me with a bitter aftertaste. My parents couldn't even pretend to care about my accomplishment. They couldn't even be happy for me without turning the conversation back to Alexander, as if his life were the only thing that mattered. I didn't need them to validate my worth, though. I had already proven it to myself. And that was enough. It had to be enough. University life was a whirlwind. I moved into the dorms, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly free. No more arguments, no more expectations to meet someone else's standards. Just me, my books, and the future I was determined to build. Every day I woke up early to study, to dive deeper into the world of dentistry. I spent hours in the library, my nose buried in textbooks, memorizing complex diagrams, anatomy, and physiology. This wasn't just about passing exams, it was about building a foundation for a life I could be proud of. For the first time, I was doing something for myself, and that felt like a luxury I hadn't had in years. It wasn't long before I met Daniel Watson. He was a few rows over in our anatomy class, and I first noticed him because he always seemed so calm. While I was flipping through pages frantically before every lecture, he'd just sit there, quietly absorbing everything. His notes were immaculate, his attention to detail astounding. And when he spoke, it wasn't with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence that I found both impressive and reassuring. One day, after class, he came up to me. "Eva, right? I've seen you in the library all the time. You're always so focused," he said, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. I was taken aback. Yeah. "I guess I've been hitting the books pretty hard. You're doing something right," he said. I'm Daniel, by the way. I could use a study buddy if you're up for it. You've got this laser focus that I respect. I didn't know why, but I agreed. Maybe it was the fact that someone finally saw me for my efforts instead of brushing them off. Maybe it was because, for once, someone wasn't comparing me to Alexander. We started studying together regularly, and soon I realized I was looking forward to it more than I expected. Daniel wasn't just a study partner, he was someone I could talk to. Someone who understood what it was like to feel driven and passionate about something, yet still get overshadowed by the world around you. As time went on, our study sessions turned into longer conversations about dentistry, yes, but also about our lives. Daniel shared that he, too, had come from a family that didn't quite get his dreams. Though his situation wasn't as extreme as mine, his parents were supportive, but they didn't quite understand the level of dedication he had to his craft. We talked about our struggles, our ambitions, and slowly, I began to realize that Daniel was more than just a friend. There was something deeper there, something I couldn't ignore. But it wasn't just our academic connection that drew me to him, it was the way he made me feel. For the first time, someone appreciated me for who I was, for what I was trying to build. There were no comparisons to Alexander, no undercurrent of why don't you be more like him. Daniel saw me, truly saw me, and it was everything I had been missing for so long. By the time we reached our sophomore year, I realized something had shifted between us. What had started as a friendship slowly turned into something undeniable. It wasn't just the long hours spent studying, or the way he'd smile when I explained a complex concept to him. It was the small moments, the way he'd look at me when I said something passionate, the way he listened when I shared my fears about the future. One day, he said, "Eva, I think you're going to be an incredible dentist. You've got the passion and the drive. I can see it in everything you do." I remember blushing, not used to hearing compliments, especially ones that weren't from my family. "Thanks," I said, my voice quieter than usual. "I've worked hard for this." "Hard work pays off," he said, his eyes locked on mine. "You deserve it." From that moment on, our relationship shifted. We weren't just classmates anymore, we were partners, both in and out of the classroom. We worked on volunteer projects together, providing dental care at local clinics for those who couldn't afford it. I loved it. The way I felt when a patient left the clinic, smiling because they didn't have to live with pain anymore, it was everything I had dreamed of. It was exactly what I wanted my life to be. During one of our volunteer shifts, I treated a young mother who had been living with a painful dental issue for years. After the procedure, she smiled through her tears. "You've changed my life," she said. "I've been in pain for so long, I never thought I'd feel this good again." I felt a rush of pride that I couldn't explain. This was why I wanted to be a dentist, to help people, to make a difference. And here I was, doing it. It wasn't just about the career anymore, it was about the impact I could make on the world, one person at a time. Later, that day, Daniel turned to me, a soft smile playing at his lips. "You're going to be an amazing dentist, Eva," he said. "I'm lucky to be part of your journey." His words warmed me in a way I hadn't expected. They meant more than I could explain. Daniel wasn't just a friend or a partner, he was someone who believed in me, someone who wanted to help me build a future. After that, the thought of our future together started to take shape. We both shared the same vision to open a clinic together, one where we could offer care to underserved communities, one where we could build something that was ours, something that wasn't just handed to us, but something we worked for. As we entered our third year, the dynamic of our relationship changed again. It wasn't just about mutual respect anymore, it was about mutual care. We started dating and everything just felt right. Like I had found the person who truly understood me, the person I could build a future with. But there was still that gnawing feeling, that part of me that always felt like I was living in the shadow of my family's expectations. I wanted to prove to them that I wasn't just a secondary character in their story, that I could carve my own path, no matter how hard it was. That's when the scholarship opportunity for the dentistry program opened up. It was a rare chance, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized it could be the key to everything I had worked for. But this time, it wasn't just about proving something to my family, it was about proving something to myself. I wasn't going to let my family's neglect define my worth. I wasn't going to let them tell me that my dreams didn't matter. I was going to make them see that my future was in my hands and no one else's. I was ready to claim it. The day I found out I'd been selected for the scholarship, I was sitting in the library, surrounded by stacks of textbooks. My phone buzzed on the table, and I almost didn't check it, thinking it was just another spam notification. But then, the screen lit up with the name of the scholarship committee, and my heart stopped. I picked it up, trying not to shake, and answered the call. "Hello, is this Ava Monroe?" The voice on the other end asked. "This is she," I replied, trying to steady my breath. "Eva, we're calling to inform you that you've been selected as one of this year's dental scholarship recipients. Congratulations! You're one of only 5 students chosen from the state. Your full tuition will be covered." I didn't know what to say. I just stared at the screen, my mind racing. I had done it. This was the moment I'd been working for, fighting for. I could barely hold back tears of relief and joy. Thank you so much," I stammered, my voice thick with emotion. As soon as I hung up, I felt an overwhelming surge of pride. But it wasn't just the scholarship. It was everything that had led up to this point, the late nights, the sacrifices, the belief in myself that no one else seemed to share. It was a validation that I wasn't just dreaming. I was making this happen. But as usual, my excitement was short-lived. I immediately called my parents to share the news, eager to hear their support. The conversation started off with the usual polite congratulations, but I could feel the familiar undercurrent of indifference. My mom's voice was soft but distant. "That's great, Eva," she said, sounding like she was half listening. "But did you hear about Alexander's latest trip to Street James? He's going to the annual gala this year. We're so proud of him." I felt the weight of her words settle over me. The scholarship should have been the thing that mattered. But once again, they were more concerned with Alexander's life than mine. His gala was another one of those meaningless events that meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. But to them, it was everything. I didn't know what to say. The anger started to rise in me, but I didn't want to let it take over. Instead, I just kept my voice steady, even though it was hard. "That's great for him," I replied. "But this scholarship is a big deal for me. It's a huge step forward in my life." "Well, we're happy for you, honey," my mom said. "But remember, family comes first. Family comes first." Those words had been drilled into me for years, but lately, they felt like a trap. Family came first, but only if you were Alexander, only if you fit their version of success. My success, my dreams, always seemed to be secondary to his. I tried to keep the conversation going, but it was clear. They weren't really interested in talking about my future. They'd already moved on to the next thing, Alexander's latest achievement, which felt like a recurring theme in my life. They never asked me about my achievements, never asked what I was doing or how I was doing. They just wanted to make sure Alexander's path was clear and paved for him. "Thanks," I said, trying to sound polite. "I'll talk to you later." I hung up, my heart heavy with frustration. I knew what this meant. My parents were never going to change. They were always going to favor Alexander, always going to dismiss my dreams in favor of his whims. But I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to waste my life waiting for their approval. I had come too far to let them drag me back. That night, as I sat alone in my dorm room, I realized something important. I didn't need them. I had spent so many years trying to earn their approval, to gain their affection, but it was always just out of reach. No matter how hard I worked, it was never enough. But now, I was finally in control of my own life. I didn't need their validation anymore. The next few months were a blur. I dove headfirst into my studies, focusing on everything that mattered: my future, my career, and the dream that had kept me going all these years. I spent hours in the library, researching, studying, and pushing myself harder than ever before. Daniel was always there too. He was my rock, my constant support. We studied together, worked on projects together, and slowly but surely, our relationship deepened. But it wasn't just about the romance. It was about the fact that Daniel believed in me when no one else did. He saw my potential, my drive, and it was enough. There were moments when I'd find myself thinking about my family. Sometimes I wondered what it would take to make them see me, to make them understand how hard I was fighting for this dream. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it didn't matter. I wasn't doing this for them. I was doing this for me. I had worked too hard and come too far to let their indifference stop me now. By the time graduation rolled around, I had achieved everything I had set out to do. I was proud of the person I had become, the journey I had taken, but the road ahead was still uncertain. I didn't know what my future would hold, but I knew one thing for sure: I was going to make it, no matter what. As the ceremony drew closer, I thought about how different this experience had been from my high school graduation. Back then, I had hoped for my parents' support, for them to finally see me as someone worth celebrating. But now, I didn't need that. I had learned to celebrate myself, and that was enough. On the day of the ceremony, I saw my parents sitting in the audience, but they were barely paying attention. They were busy whispering to each other, glancing at their phones. I could feel their indifference from the stage, but this time it didn't bother me. I didn't need them to cheer for me. I had already won. After the ceremony, I found Daniel waiting for me. He grinned at me, his eyes sparkling with pride. "You did it, Eva. I knew you could." I smiled back at him, feeling the warmth spread through me. "We did it," I corrected, taking his hand in mine. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't done this alone. I had Daniel, I had my own strength, and I had the belief in myself that I had worked so hard to cultivate. It wasn't about anyone else's approval. It was about me. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. The months that followed my graduation were a blur of excitement, hope, and uncertainty. With my degree in hand, I was ready to take on the world. I had finally achieved something on my own terms. No more waiting for approval. No more trying to fit into a mold I didn't belong to. I was living my life for myself now, and it felt incredible. Daniel and I had big plans. After we graduated, we both knew we wanted to open our own dental clinic. We had talked about it for years, ever since the first time we volunteered together at that small clinic for underprivileged families. It was one of the few places where dental care was provided for people who couldn't afford it, and I had loved every minute of it. The joy of helping others, of making a real difference in their lives, it was the reason I had chosen this career in the first place. But opening a clinic wasn't easy. There were a lot of obstacles to overcome. The startup costs alone were overwhelming. Thankfully, Daniel's grandfather had offered us a loan, and with his support, we managed to secure the equipment we needed. We spent months working together, designing the clinic, picking out the right tools, making sure everything was perfect. By the time we opened the doors of our clinic, I felt like I had finally arrived. It wasn't just about the money or the success, it was about creating something that was truly ours, a place where we could help people who needed it the most. In the early days, things were rough. We had to build a patient base from scratch, which wasn't easy. But slowly, word started to spread. People came in for routine cleanings, fillings, and checkups. They came back, bringing their families and friends, telling others about the care they received. It was a slow build, but it felt good to know that we were on the right path. Meanwhile, my relationship with my family continued to deteriorate. The distance between us only grew as time went on. My parents still didn't understand what I had done with my life. They had expected me to fail, to return to their idea of what was appropriate for a daughter. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I wasn't the one who would quietly accept whatever they threw at me. I was Eva Monroe, and I had built my own future. The final straw came when my parents showed up at our clinic, unannounced. It was a busy day, one of the busiest we had ever had, and I was just finishing up with a patient when I saw them walk through the door. My heart sank. My mother's eyes immediately scanned the room, taking in the high-end equipment, the polished floors, the modern decor. She made a show of looking impressed, but I could see the judgment in her eyes. "Eva, this place is nice," she said, her voice a little too sweet. "But don't you think it's a bit much? All this equipment, it's a lot of money. What if you don't make it?" I could feel my stomach tighten. It wasn't the first time she'd criticized me for my choices, but it still stung. This was my dream, and she was treating it like it was some frivolous endeavor. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Mom, this is my life. Daniel and I worked hard to get this clinic off the ground. We're doing something that matters, and it's already making a difference." She didn't seem convinced, I just don't want you to end up in over your head. You should be careful." I clenched my jaw. My parents had always seen everything I did as a risk, everything except for Alexander's potential. I couldn't let their fear control me anymore. "Thanks for your concern, but I've got this," I said, my voice firm. "We've put in the work and we're seeing the results. This clinic isn't just for us, it's for the people who need us." They didn't respond. Instead, my father turned to Daniel, as though he were the one who needed to be reassured. "I hope you're making the right decisions. You two don't have much experience. You could end up losing everything." I felt a familiar frustration rise in my chest. It was the same old story, their skepticism, their unwillingness to see me as capable. But instead of letting their words get to me, I stood tall. "We've been through this before, Dad. We're building something here. We're in this for the long haul." The silence that followed was thick with tension. My mother and father exchanged a quick glance, but neither of them said anything more. It was clear that they didn't approve, but I no longer cared. I had worked too hard for this moment to let their negativity undermine it. A few weeks later, we had our grand opening and the clinic was a hit. People were flooding in, and the word-of-mouth referrals started to pour in. The atmosphere was electric. Daniel and I had built something real, something meaningful. But even as our success grew, my parents continued to pull away. They weren't interested in visiting the clinic again, and they certainly didn't want to talk about it. They would call every now and then to check in, but the conversations always felt strained. They never asked about the clinic's success or how we were doing. They'd always go back to talking about Alexander and his latest adventure, as if nothing else mattered. It wasn't until a year later that things came to a head. One afternoon, I received a call from my mother. Her voice was trembling, almost frantic. "Eva, there's something we need to talk about. It's about Alexander." My stomach dropped. "What's going on?" "He's in trouble," she said, barely able to get the words out. "He made some bad investments, and now he owes a huge amount of money. We don't know what to do. He's asking us for help." My mind raced. Alexander had been through so many bad decisions in his life, but this felt different. "What kind of trouble are we talking about?" "The kind we can't fix," my mother admitted. "Eva, we need to sell your condo. We need to help him pay off his debts." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What do you mean? Sell my condo? That's my property. You don't have the right to do that." There was a long pause on the other end of the line before my mother spoke again. "We've already signed the papers. It's the only way we can help him." "No," I said, my voice cold. "I didn't sign anything. You're lying. We had to do it, Eva. Alexander's in trouble. We're just trying to help him." The words hit me like a slap to the face. My parents had sold my condo without my permission, without even telling me. They had crossed a line, and this time, I wasn't going to let it slide. "Mom, this is fraud. You can't just sell my property without my consent. I'm going to the police." There was silence on the other end. My mother's voice shook as she stammered, trying to explain, but I couldn't hear her anymore. My hands were shaking as I hung up the phone. I looked at Daniel, who was standing in the doorway, having overheard the conversation. His eyes were full of concern, but also determination. "Eva, we'll handle this. We'll go to the police. You don't have to face this alone." For the first time in my life, I felt the weight of my family's betrayal settle in. But as I looked at Daniel, I realized something important. I wasn't alone. I had built a life that was mine, a life that was supported by people who believed in me, not because of my last name or my family's expectations, but because of my own strength, my own efforts. This was my turning point. The line had been crossed, and there was no going back. The days following that phone call felt like they stretched on forever. My parents' betrayal wasn't just a painful reminder of how little I mattered to them. It was a wake-up call. I had always let them control my narrative, but now I realized that this wasn't their story to write. It was mine. I sat in the clinic for hours after the call, barely able to process what had just happened. My hands trembled as I wiped down the dental equipment, the sterile smell of the office filling my lungs as I tried to regain control of my emotions. I couldn't let this ruin everything I had worked for. I couldn't let them tear down what I had built, what I had fought for. "Eva?" Daniel's voice broke through my thoughts, and I turned to see him standing in the doorway, his expression a mixture of concern and understanding. "Are you okay?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, I need to think." He walked in slowly, taking a seat across from me. What happened? I recounted the phone call, the words of my mother still ringing in my ears. She had sold my condo without my permission, without my knowledge. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. But there was also a sense of numbness, like I had been hit with a cold, hard truth that I couldn't ignore anymore. They crossed a line, Daniel, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. They've always treated me like I didn't matter, like my dreams were secondary to Alexander's. But this time, they took something that was mine, something I worked hard for, and I'm not going to let them get away with it. Daniel reached across the table, taking my hand in his. His touch was steady, grounding me in a way that nothing else could. You don't have to face this alone, Eva. We'll get through this together. I looked into his eyes, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a sense of peace. With Daniel by my side, I knew I wasn't alone. I had someone who saw me, who understood the work and sacrifice that had brought me here. I wasn't just his partner in business, I was his equal in every way. That night, I called a lawyer. I wasn't about to let my family's disregard for my boundaries stand. The lawyer helped me navigate the legal steps to reclaim what was rightfully mine. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't fast, but I was determined. I couldn't let the years of resentment and betrayal go unanswered. As the legal process dragged on, I found myself reflecting more and more on my past. I had spent so many years trying to prove myself to my family, trying to get their approval, trying to be good enough. But in doing so, I had lost sight of who I truly was. I had let their expectations define me for too long, but now I was starting to understand something important. My worth was never tied to their approval. It had never been about them. It was about me. I was enough, just as I was, and the life I was building was mine to shape, not theirs. During those long months of legal proceedings, I focused on the clinic. I threw myself into making it the best it could be. The more I worked, the more I realized that I was finally creating something that was truly mine, something that was bigger than any family drama or past hurt. I was making a difference, and that was what mattered. We hired more staff, expanded our services, and reached out to more communities. Daniel and I started offering free dental care to underserved areas, providing essential services to those who couldn't afford them. It felt right. It felt like I was finally doing what I had always wanted to do, helping people, making a real impact. But even as the clinic flourished, the tensions with my family didn't ease. My parents continued to reach out, but their messages were always filled with guilt and manipulation. They tried to apologize, but their words didn't carry the weight they once did. I knew now that I couldn't keep letting them back into my life, not until they truly understood the damage they had caused. Then, a few months after the legal battle ended in my favor, something unexpected happened. I was sitting at the clinic, finishing up with a patient, when I saw a familiar face through the glass doors. My parents. They stood there, waiting for me to notice them. I froze, unsure of what to do. It had been months since we'd spoken, and the emotions from that phone call still lingered. I walked over to the door, opening it slowly. My mother and father stood there, looking older, wearier, like time had taken its toll on them. They didn't look like the people who had once dictated my every move. They looked like people who had lost something they didn't know how to get back. Eva, my mother said, her voice tentative. We need to talk. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. What is it, Mom? We've made some mistakes, my father added, his voice surprisingly soft. We've been selfish. We didn't see the value in what you were doing. We just didn't understand. I felt my heart pound in my chest. They were finally acknowledging what I had always known, but it wasn't enough. Not anymore. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said, the words more bitter than I had intended. You've hurt me, and I've spent my whole life trying to be enough for you. But you never saw me. You never saw what I was capable of. My mother's eyes welled with tears, and my father looked down at the ground. We know, he said, voice barely above a whisper, and we're sorry. But we want to make things right, if you'll let us. I didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to scream, to tell them how much they had hurt me. But the other part of me realized that I didn't need their apology to move forward. I had already moved on. I had already built a life without them. A life that was mine and mine alone. I'm glad you're sorry, I said, my voice firm. But I can't go back to the way things were. I've spent too long living in your shadow, waiting for you to approve of me. I can't do that anymore. There was a long silence between us, the weight of my words hanging in the air. Finally, my father nodded, his face weary. We understand. We just want you to know that we're proud of you, Eva. We always have been. I looked at them, unsure of what to say next. There was no magic moment of reconciliation, no tearful embrace. It was just a quiet understanding. I had made peace with the fact that my family could never be the people I wanted them to be. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay. As they left the clinic that day, I realized something. The life I had built wasn't defined by their love or approval. It was defined by my own actions, my own choices. And in that moment, I felt more free than I had ever felt before. Daniel and I continued to build the clinic, helping people, making a difference. Our work together was the foundation of our future, a future that was no longer dependent on the past. I had finally claimed my future, and it was mine, all mine. Story 2. Upon looking at the personalized welcome baby banner, I pondered whether the rose gold text was an error. Lily had always preferred more straightforward aesthetics, while my mother seemed intent on emphasizing every little detail. The party planner's invoice in my fingers now acts as a sharp reminder of why I should have turned down the invitation to throw this baby shower in the first place. My name is Clara, and I've spent the last 15 years proving that family commitment and career success are not incompatible. Warning, my mother is still not persuaded. Maya, the caterer who was standing next to me with her clipboard, said that they were 20 minutes behind schedule. I mumbled, looking at my watch. Of course. Although it could wait for now, I noticed another work email requesting attention. Did you confirm the floral arrangements? I asked. All right, Maya said. However, your mother called once more. She is requesting that the seats be moved so that Lily's college pals be nearer the front. I closed my eyes and counted to 10 in my head. 3 days before, we had finalized the seating chart, the one she had given her approval to. The exact chart. May squeezed my shoulder reassuringly. Do you want me to tell her? No, I'll take care of it. With a sigh, I took out my phone and called my mother. 2 rings, 1 ring. Clara, sweetheart. Honey oozed from mother's voice. Never a good sign. All I was thinking about was the seating. We can't change things now, Mother. The tables are laid and the place cards produced. This arrangement was particularly requested by Lily. Last week, Lily gave her approval. My eyes strayed to the venue, where employees were setting up crystal centerpieces that probably cost more than my first automobile. Do you recall the family meal? You're referring to the meal you left early for that conference call, right? It was the classic Eleanor Vance guilt trip, and I got caught up in it. I said in a calm voice. That car secured the Thompson account right on cue. It's helping to cover the cost of this shower you're trying to control. Isn't it always a pleasure working with you? She let out a theatrical lament. Clara, your sister, is expecting a child. Would putting family first for once be that harmful? Across the room, the venue manager waved excitedly. One more crisis to deal with. I had to leave, Mother. The seats are still in place. Before she could object to any more issues, I hung up the phone. I asked, knowing the answer beforehand. Just a typical mother doing what she does. Right now, I fix my blazer. What's wrong? The lighting at the dessert table lacks ethereality. Evident. Maya gave an eye roll. The manager is really losing it. My phone buzzed as we made our way to the disturbance. The screen lit up with Lily's text. You're being picky about the seating. According to Mom, why don't you just assist me have the best possible day? Excellent. Similar to the perfect A's that were never quite enough. Like this $40,000 baby shower that somehow fell short. Or the promotion that meant nothing since I skipped Sunday supper. I told the management forcefully that the lights were good. We'll change the camera settings for pictures, if anything. Once more, my phone buzzed. It was David, the family attorney, this time. Regarding the venue contract, Clara, your mother is on the other end of the queue. Something to do with last-minute changes. I squeezed my nasal bridge. Tell her that there will be substantial additional fees for any changes made at this time. According to her, money is not an issue, obviously not. I assumed that wasn't her money. I saw another delivery arrive. party favors that Lily's favorite artist had hand-painted. Please just stall her. The event will take place in just a few hours. Yes, we will. Clara as well. David hesitated. You're performing admirably. Nobody should be able to convince you differently. Calling off. A well-known egg landed in my breast. The same pain from when Lily was 12 and her mother complimented her on her poor piano concert, yet failed to win my debating championship. The same twist of sorrow when she dismissed my business degree as calculating and cold and enthused about Lily's art major. Hello? I was brought back to the present by Maya's words. Are you all right? I straightened the closest place card and said, Fine. I'm simply wondering why I keep attempting to prove myself to those who have already made up their minds about me. Simply because you're Clara, she said. Even when you might want to give up, you never do. When the caterers eventually showed there, it was a wonderful distraction, while I led them into the kitchen. It was the final buzzing of my phone. Aunt Carol sent a message. The warpath is your mother. Be prepared, my love, and never forget that you are more valuable than their favor. I took in the spotlessly adorned space and all of the little elements that I had painstakingly planned while balancing client meetings and project deadlines. My sister would have her perfect baby shower in 4 hours, and I would, as usual, smile, nod, and pretend not to care about their scathing comments, because that's what good daughters do, isn't it? My phone vibrated for the 10th time as the baby shower was in full gear. Behind a decorative screen, a customer situation required an urgent fix. I made an effort to speak quietly. I said, Yes, I do understand the urgency. I have 20 minutes to go over the contract. Mother Clara's voice cut through the commotion of the gathering. How come you're back there? I cut the call short. I wanted to inquire about the gift arrangements. Mom always has that phone, she shot back, taking hold of my arm and guiding me into the throng. Presents are set to be opened by your sister. Your priceless job can wait, surely. Lily was sitting among appreciative visitors on the elaborate chair I had specially bought. The expert lighting accentuated her pregnancy beauty. I had planned a detail that nobody would probably notice. You're there. Lily's eyes did not fully meet her grin. I was starting to believe you had disappeared, just taking care of a few things. As I took my assigned seat next to her and saw my mother hovering close by like a vigilant hawk, I said, Information. Mother's side details. Loud enough for others in the vicinity to hear. These days, that's all Clara ever thinks about. Contracts and numbers rather than family. Some of the visitors shuffled uneasily. Even though my cheeks were flushed, I kept smiling. Shall we concentrate on the presents? With the proper oohs and ahs, Lily opened one present after another. I checked my phone covertly. The client missed 3 calls. It's from Clara, I see, Lily declared as she raised a tastefully wrapped parcel. My stomach grew constricted. For weeks, I had been looking for the old silver rattle that looked just like the one in our grandmother's baby pictures. The velvet box was exposed as Lily tore through the paper. Oh, it's pleasant. It's similar to Grandma's flowers. Quickly, I replied. Recall how she frequently spoke to us about remembering. Remember when Clara had to skip Lily's college graduation due to an important meeting? Mother interrupted. There was silence in the room. Daniel, Lily's husband, shifted in his chair and avoided looking at her. That was years ago, Mother. Silently, I said, and the following day I flew in, and here we are today. As if we hadn't spoken at Lily's baby shower, Mother went on, saying she couldn't put her phone down for an hour. Mother was in a good mood, but there were Carol Warren and Eleanor across the room. Who organized this whole shower, do you know? With a voice full of hormonal tears, Lily joined in. Mom did. You couldn't help since you were too preoccupied with your significant career. Stunned, I gazed at her. I literally planned everything, Lily. Yes, of course, she gave a sniff. Like you do with everything, you wrote some checks and threw money at it. But throughout the actual planning, where were you? Late-night calls concerning menus, color schemes, and tastings. Those calls were mine. I raised my voice, even though I tried my hardest. Ladies, the first plan them around your timing. Daniel tried to speak out, but his mother cut him off with a freezing gaze. How is your sister giving birth? Mother declared to the entire room. A new life. A miracle. However, I guess whatever's on your phone is more significant than that. Once more, my phone buzzed. At this point, the client was threatening to close their account. I must accept this. I stood up and stated that. It's crucial. More significant than family. Lily's tone faltered. Greater than me. Now there was a dead silence in the room. Every visitor saw me publicly chastised. What do you know? I reached for my handbag. Indeed. In contrast to this shower, which I organized, paid for, and am reportedly getting no credit for, this call is more crucial right now. People that appreciate my time and effort genuinely care about this call. The audience echoed with gasps. A flush came across Mother's cheeks. You dare? She sputtered. You've done everything for me, and we've done everything for you. I let forth a harsh, acrid chuckle. Enlighten me, please. Was it the guilt trips, the incessant criticism, or the parallels to Lily? Maya showed up at my side. Perhaps we ought to go outside. Not necessary. I sat up straight, using all the boardroom self-assurance I had left. I'm going. Lily, have fun in the shower. Until 7 o'clock, the venue is paid for. Don't let your mother persuade you. I also damaged this. Despite my legs shaking, I turned on my heel and walked firmly towards the exit. Just before the door closed, I heard Lily's hiccuping cries and my mother's dramatic sobbing behind me. Carol's speech seemed clear to me. Well, I hope you're happy, Eleanor. You've accomplished it at last. I arrived at my car before the tears eventually started, but as I sat there and watched the venue employees dart about through the windows, an odd serenity descended upon me. When my phone buzzed once again, I felt something else stirring in my chest instead of dread. Decide. Before I called, I stayed in my car for exactly 3 minutes. My hands had stopped trembling and had taken on an unsettling firmness that I typically saved for hostile takeovers. It's Clara, David. Do you recall the backup plan we talked about? You said that you would never use it. He sounded worried. What took place inside? At last, they pushed too hard. I observed a second delivery van pull up to the location. I need you to carry out every detail of Plan B, Clara. He paused. Are you certain that this is? They believe that all I do is write checks, I said strongly, David. Let's see what that entails in detail. Hanging up, I phoned the venue manager, Sarah, right away. Yes, about the payment plans we talked about. It's all put up the way you asked, Miss Vance. Must I? Yes, I did confirm that all adjustments should be implemented right away. Leah texted me, and my phone glowed. Holy, they're still working on it. Lily is crying about your abandonment on her special day. Your mother is presiding like a queen who has been slain. I typed back with a smile. Give it 20 minutes. The food firm, the barman, the photographer, and the entertainment provider were the next to be called. Every discussion was short, devastating in its simplicity and a profession. David texted, everything's in place. This is what you're actually doing. I said they wanted to talk about money. Now let's talk about money. Getting my vehicle started. Aunt Carol was rushing out of the venue when I saw her. She ran over as soon as she saw me. I'm rolling down my window. Whatever you're planning? She questioned Clara. She started. How bad is it in there? I inquired. Your mother turned it into a Greek tragedy, she said, leaning against my vehicle. Lily is certain that you have destroyed her life. Daniel seemed to want to vanish. Excellent. I looked at my watch. They will have something truly significant to grieve over in 5 minutes or so. What did you do? Nothing that they haven't asked for subtly. I scrolled through the emails on my phone and presented it to her. You see, I was always good with numbers, according to my mother. It's time to show her correctness. As Carol read, her eyes grew wide. Clara, my God, this is entirely lawful. It's all in my name. All agreements, all contracts. I turned on the engine. They wanted to talk about how I just squander money. They can manage it on their own now, though. Where are you heading? The spa. I've scheduled a massage. I grinned. After all, I did pay for it. I saw the first indications of turmoil through the venue's windows as I started to back away. Now it would be Sarah's turn to declare. All of a sudden, the open bar would demand money. They would be packing up the photographer. The caterers would stop billing and providing services. The visitors who had sat there smugly watching my humiliation would get every single itemized bill. My phone, which was linked to the car's Bluetooth, was inundated with alerts. I turned on the speakers and listened to the messages. Clara? What's going on? Lily's tone faltered. According to the venue, we must pay. Remove. This is your mom. How dare you? Remove. Hello? This is Daniel. Look, I am aware that things became out of control. Remove a fresh SMS message from Maya. Your mother just attempted to charge everything on her credit card. Wow. Reject. Lily's pals are departing. Compared to Netflix, this is superior. Feeling lighter than I have in years, I pulled into the spa parking lot. The receptionist smiled warmly as she greeted me. Miss Vance, welcome. Your own retreat is prepared. Thank you. I gave my phone to her. Please, could you keep this for me? I anticipate receiving some calls. I would prefer not to respond. Naturally. Do you want to look at our wine list? Sure, please. David texted me again as I followed her to the suite. All of the bills have been distributed. Your mom is trying to get in touch with the owner of the facility. Shall I step in? I typed back, no. Give it a go. Sometimes you have to learn things the hard way. Putting on the luxurious spa robe. I heard the sound of waterfalls in the distance. Before I turned it in, my phone exploded one last time. Aunt Carol sent a message. The expression on your mother's face when the bar tab came. Well worth the money. But was burning the bridge worth it, sweetheart? I thought about years of being criticized, devalued, and treated like an ATM, while also being informed that I wasn't sufficiently focused on my family. Some bridges must burn so you can see what's on the other side at last, I said. After that, I turned off my phone, ordered a glass of champagne, and was ready to enjoy every second of my costly retaliation. I had drawn the check for it, after all. My shoulders were relieved of 15 years of family-induced strain by the massage therapist's hands, and in the locker room, my phone accumulated irate texts. 2 hours of heavenly solitude, broken only by my occasional sighs of dissatisfaction and gentle meditation music. Increased pressure. Miss Vance? Asked the therapist. I melted deeper into the table and said, perfect as is, though I might need an extra hour. Actually, I corrected, it was a bad day. It's going better than anticipated. The receptionist came out of the treatment room with a pitying glance. You've been using your phone a much. 37 calls were not returned. None were nice, I suppose. The last one was rather noisy. She gave the gadget to me. I think it has to do with financial terrorism. Each message is more desperate than the previous as I browsed through them. Mother left the last voicemail. She spoke in a panicked shriek. Clara, you answer this phone now, Elizabeth Vance. Payment for everything is required by the venue. All of it? Drinks were paid for by Lily's pals. The photographer took all the pictures and left. The meal was packaged by the caterers. Have you done anything? Grinning, I deleted it. I called Maya. You are a true legend, she said, giggling. I wish you were there to see it. Your mother tried to figure out who I am and pull the 500th with the management of the facility. Sarah just continued showing her the documents that were signed by you. How is Lily doing? Obviously crying. But pay attention to this. When her college pals got stuck with the bar tab, they left. That is a true test of friendship. I accepted a glass of infused water as I sank into the spa's relaxation area, and Danielle handled it better than I had anticipated. He has been attempting to resolve the situation by making calls. I heard him say to Lily that perhaps they had been exploiting you. Fascinating. My water is set. Are there any more casualties? You ordered those beautiful cupcakes. Mother boasted about organizing one of them. She was showing them off to her church buddies when they were packed up. Excellent timing. There was another incoming call and my phone buzzed. David is here. Wait a moment. Maya, I must accept this, Clara. David spoke without introducing himself. Legal action is being threatened by your mother. For what purpose? Everything was paid for by me. That's right. You have every right to cancel services after paying. She's struggling to make ends meet. Give her a hand. I looked at my new fingernails. How much harm is there in the end? In any case, they will have to pay the remaining $288,000 in venue costs, bar bills, photographer cancellation fees, and food. All of your mom's credit cards are at full value. He cleared his throat. Lily's as well. It's not my issue. Daniel has offered to arrange a payment schedule and has been reasonable. Refuse it. I got up and gathered my belongings. Their goal was to manage everything without my money getting in the way. Permit them. Once more, my phone buzzed. And, Carol, you've caused quite a scandal, she said in response. For months, half the country club will be debating this. Excellent. Maybe they won't invite my mom to organize their gatherings. Lily is a complete mess. Claims that her baby shower was destroyed by you. Forever lost memories. Better than allowing her to ruin my entire life. I added a nice gratuity and signed my spa bill. How's it going for Mom? She's already making loan calls to everyone she knows. So yet, no takers. Her credit history isn't as spotless as she makes it seem. Here, feeling rejuvenated and refreshed, I ventured out into the evening, free. Do you have any regrets? I didn't record it all, though. Carol laughed. However, when the bar tab came, I was able to get a beautiful picture of your mother's face. Worth putting in a frame. Really? Daniel sent me a text, and my phone lighted up. Can we have a conversation? Only us. I believe it's time for some apologies, I said. Interesting timing, Aunt Carolyn asked. What are you going to do now? I got comfortable in my car and adjusted the mirror. I observed a woman who seemed at last free in it. I'm getting takeaway and enjoying the quiet as I head home. They wanted to talk about money. Well, they can talk about it among themselves now. What about tomorrow? I'll go back to being the accomplished professional lady. They enjoy critiquing tomorrow. They will only understand exactly what it means this time. My phone kept vibrating with calls and messages as I drove home. Each one stood for someone who had seen me humiliated yet now desperately needed my help. Since sometimes the best retaliation involves more than just leveling the odds, none of them would be addressed. It's about teaching folks the importance of things they previously took for granted, and based on the growing debts they are holding, the lecture was only getting started. When the day broke, there were 12 voicemails and 53 unread messages. Like any other day, I entered my workplace. Sophia, my assistant, smiled knowingly and offered me coffee. Your mom made 6 calls to the workplace. Are there any more calls? The deal with Thompson is signed. At 2 o'clock is the merger meeting. She pauses. The spouse of your sister paid you a visit. Daniel was present, claimed to want to talk about business. I was given a folder by Sophia. I told him you spent the entire day in meetings. My workplace phone came on. Once more, your mother, Sophia declared. Let it ring. Maya stormed in the door. I have coffee. Tell me everything. How did the spa go? Did you get a good night's sleep? Have you looked at social media? A one query at a time, I got on my computer and logged in. The spa was ideal. I'm avoiding social media now that I slept like a baby. Oh, you must not. She took her phone out. The neighborhood Facebook group is experiencing a breakdown among your mom's churchmates. It seems that you have permanently ruined the sacredness of baby showers. Sad. Lily shared 3 heartfelt self-portraits. When your own sister betrays you on your big day is the last one. It buzzed on my phone. And, Carol, she remarked without greeting, your mother is having an urgent family meeting tonight. Her goal is to mobilize the army against you. I wish you luck in your endeavor. I looked at my schedule. The majority of them also owe me money. Has Daniel been inquiring about the commercial aspect of things? I launched my banking application. Given that Lily's credit card payment is due today, the timing is intriguing, but that's not all. Carol also spoke rather softly. In regards to refinancing her home, your mother has been phoning everyone. Maya glanced up abruptly after perusing through social media. God, oh God. This is something you must see. Your mom lost her mind when Lily's college pals wrote about the tacky cash bar. My workplace phone came back to life. This time, your sister? Carol moaned over the phone when Sophia's voice came over the intercom while they were still in meetings. Elena is threatening to expose your unscrupulous business practices in a letter to your board of directors, the board on which I sit. I chuckled. The one who appreciates my skills to oversee agreements worth millions of dollars. Carol hesitated. She's desperate. They're all good. Upon opening my inbox, I saw many messages from Daniel. Perhaps now they'll know what it's like to be appreciated just for your monetary contributions. Maya was sitting on my desk. Daniel has been leaving comments on all of your LinkedIn posts about your career accomplishments. Attempting to win you over, it's more like damage control. You are followed by the partners of his legal firm. David texted me and my phone buzzed. Lily is trying to contest the venue charges that were made to her credit card. It's not going well for her, Sophia said. Your mother is calling again. I hit the button for the intercom. Sophia hung up on every call, unless they have to do with the Thompson agreement. Additionally, let Daniel know that I have a full calendar until next month if he stops by again. How about tonight's family meeting? Carol then inquired. I'm having a client supper. They didn't need to know that I didn't. In addition, I believe that they should handle this circumstance on their own. According to Eleanor, you have abandoned your family. No, I made the correction. I have abandoned my role as their personal bank. There is a distinction. Maya once again showed me her phone. Another update has been made by Lily. When familial ties are less important than money, there are 3 sobbing emojis on it. Interest in the idea that family ties are only important when they need something from me. Once more, Sophia buzzed. Your mom is currently on all 3 lines. It's time to do some real work. One straightened my blazer and got to my feet. I'm leaving early for the Thompson meeting, Sophia. All family calls should be routed to the emergency meeting and voicemail. I also included Carol. Inform them that I am occupied with investing in my career. I'm skilled at that. Do you recall? I picked up my portfolio and made my way to the meeting room. Daniel sent me a text, and my phone lighted up. We must discuss Lily's credit score. Remove another from Mom. This conduct is not acceptable. You were better raised by us. Take one away from Lily. Regarding the venue payment, the bank contacted. Clara, please. We require assistance. Remove my. Waited for me in the lift. They'll keep trying, you know. Permit them. After entering, I pressed the executive floor button. They wanted to talk about how I put my job above my family. They may now see exactly what that employment offers, and they had better be serious if they apologize. The commotion I had left behind was shut down by the lift doors, since I wasn't going to cover their expenses this time. Upstairs, the Thompson contractor awaited completion. My family would never understand the significance of this multi-million-dollar purchase until they were in dire need of the funds it represented. It's funny how occasionally karma works. A week passed during the 3 days of stillness. Okay, no word from me. Every day, my family makes more urgent attempts to get in touch with someone more creative. Mother even went so far as to send my workplace a singing telegram, though the singer seemed a little uneasy delivering a guilt trip ballad in your lobby. Maya acknowledged during lunch that it was a daring approach. Sophia took a video. I grabbed my salad. The board thought that was very funny. She slipped her phone across the table. Speaking of daring actions, view the most recent update from your aunt. In the picture, my mother was standing next to a for sale sign outside the house where I grew up. Sometimes pride is more expensive than money, the caption said. I mumbled. Subtle. Daniel has been asking about job vacancies at other companies, Maya added. It seems that his partners are not very happy about the turmoil surrounding the baby shower getting to their clientele. David was phoning when my phone rang. Without introducing himself to Lily, he said, Your mother is here in my office, and they wish to discuss payment plans for the shower expenses. Lily is grieving at the effects on her credit. Clara, it's not my problem. He spoke more softly. They are in a grave situation. Your mom is talking about filing for bankruptcy. Funny how money is important these days. Aunt Carol sent me a text. Eleanor's collection of antiques is up for sale. The one that you were never sophisticated enough to inherit, she insisted. Tell them I have meetings. I gave David instructions. 3 hours have passed since they arrived. 3 hours later, they can leave with more knowledge. Sophia buzzed my office phone, and I hung up. Daniel has returned. It is urgent, he says. In a week, for the first time. I paused. Bring him in. Daniel looked different. Weary, unkempt. Less like the slick lawyer who had stood by and watched me get humiliated. I said 2 minutes before he could say anything. Lily is a mess, he said, continuing to stand. Everything is being sold by your mother. We have damaged credit. My spouse is probably going to leave me. Ship's path. Consequences, huh? He combed through his hair. See, I am aware of our error. At the shower, I ought to have raised my voice. We all assumed you were there for us. One way to put it is that, when it comes to the baby's nursery, Lily is having anxious episodes. We are unable to get any new credit cards approved. He took out his phone, which showed a picture of Lily curled up on their couch, obviously upset, but he was still not hearing anything. Clara is your sister. What took place? I got to my feet. Do you mean when they made fun of me in public? When they snubbed me cold and cunning while gleefully wasting my money? When they disregarded years of support? We were mistaken. No. You were at ease, taking and responding with nothing but criticism. I made my way to the window. How are things going for you? In 4 months, the baby will be born. I know. Yesterday, the cot I purchased came. I called off the delivery. His cell rang. Lily is phoning. He disregarded it. Your mother's home is in danger of going into foreclosure. Silently, he said. She has choices. She may sell her vacation property or her high-end purses, or maybe give all those actual family members a call. She frequently likens myself to Clara. Please, what? Daniel, release them on bail, make another check, go back to being the ATM for the family. In between withdrawals, they might provide criticism. Once more, Sophia buzzed. Your sister and mother. They have just entered the lobby. Don't let them upstairs. Tell security. Daniel moved in closer. They apologize. No. They have no money. There is a distinction. What do you want then? What will be required to make this right? I looked him in the face. What specifically should be corrected? The connection. They were never appreciated. They took the assistance for granted. They resented the success. Once more, his phone buzzed. Mother, this time, you should go, I said. Sounds like they need you. Now they need you. My money is needed by them. They're also beginning to realize that those aren't interchangeable for the first time. He started towards the door, then hesitated. For what it's worth, I always appreciated your determination, your achievement. Lily was envious. Your mother was threatened, and now they're just frightened of losing more than money. After he went, I observed from my office window as he joined Mother and Lily in the parking lot. They gathered together, possibly contemplating their next effort at reconciliation. My phone rang with a text from Aunt Carol. They're breaking, sweetheart. Question is, are you ready for what occurs when they do? I didn't reply. Instead, I accessed the Baby Boutique website where Lily had registered the silver rattle she had dismissed, sat in my cart along with every other item on her wish list. All of their immediate financial difficulties would be resolved with a single click. I shut down the web browser. This lesson wasn't yet complete, and some lessons are more expensive than money. 2 weeks after the baby shower, at exactly 9 o'clock in the evening, someone knocked on my flat door. Before I even looked through the peephole, I knew who it was. Wearing the beat-up college sweatshirt she had never been willing to throw away, Lily stood there by herself, makeup-free. You look awful. As I opened the door, I said, May I enter? Observing how protectively she held her baby bump, I moved aside. She took a seat on my couch, looking tiny against the contemporary furnishings she had previously called soulless. She whispered, Mom doesn't know I'm here. She does, of course. Most likely she's waiting in the car. No, I really do mean it. Lily met my gaze. I took an Uber. Daniel's at a partner meeting, attempting to salvage his job. I remained standing. What do you want, Lily? I found the receipts. Her voice cracked for the shower. All of them. Mom had discarded them, but I needed to know. And $47,000. She wiped her eyes. Not including the gifts you purchased, the ones you spent months selecting. Is this the part where I'm supposed to feel appreciated because you finally looked at the price tag? No. She touched her stomach. This is the part where I tell you I'm scared. Really scared. We can't afford anything for the baby. My credit cards are maxed. Daniel's firm is placing him on probation. Mom's losing the house. Sounds rough. I deserve that. She took her phone out. But look at this. Really? Look. She showed me images from the shower taken before everything unraveled. The nuances I had fussed over were visible in every frame. The creative lighting that made everyone appear immaculate. The hand calligraphy, place cards, the painstaking arranged flowers. You did all this, she murmured while sealing the Thompson transaction while handling the merger. While I whined about you not being present for tastings. Your point? My point is, she strained to stand her pregnant belly, making it unpleasant. I was jealous. I always have been. You made everything look so effortless. Your career, your success. You even made it appear easy to arrange the ideal baby shower. No, it wasn't. Now I get that. She approached my window and looked at the lights of the city. Mom is a complete disaster. She's lost everything. Her reputation, her credit, and her status. She was actually kicked out of the country club. Sad. She was worthy. Lily faced me once again. All of us did. We pretended that you weren't worthy of the family and treated you like a bank. You've been providing for the same family for years. When Carol Lily finally made contact, my phone buzzed. How are things going? You're here, but why? I questioned Lily directly. Since I'm expecting a child. She put her hand on her bump. I don't want a young girl to grow up thinking that treating others the way we treated you is okay. I don't want her to learn that achievement is a bad thing, or that wealth comes before integrity. Pretty words. I'm not requesting money. She stepped closer. I'm asking for a chance to be a better sister, a better mother to my daughter. I'm questioning if it's too late to start afresh, as well as Mom. If there is a route back, she will have to find it on her own. I examined her face, noticing the heavy bags beneath her eyes and the lines of concern that had before not been visible. The rattling of silver. Abruptly, I said, "What? You rejected the shower present. Why did I choose it, do you know?" She gave a head shake. When we were newborns, Grandma Rose used it to calm us both. Do you recall how she used to tell you that it was the only thing that could help you relax during thunderstorms? Lily's gaze. Okay, with tears. I didn't even give it a thorough inspection. My attention was too focused on trying to harm you. Okay, it works. Clara, I'm very sorry. She grabbed everything, even my hand, for years of everything. After letting her hold my hand for a few while, I withdrew. Apologies. Credit scores are not corrected. I am aware. She walked over to the door, however, it may be a beginning. She grabbed for the grip. The rattle was still in my closet when I said it. Hope flashed over her face as she turned. I went on, I'm not saying I forgive you, but maybe. Perhaps we can talk about starting anew with the baby. Really? Keep me from regretting it. She gave a nod. Tears were streaming forth now. Thank you. I texted Aunt Carol after she left. Lily simply walked out. She arrived by herself. Perhaps there is a chance that one bridge won't burn entirely. How about Eleanor? I looked at the family pictures that are still on my shelf. They were taken years ago, when family was more important than achievement. Some of the bridges I typed back must stay ashes. My niece's little fingers clasped around the silver rattle, catching the early light. Fortunately, she did not have her mother's temperament, but she did have her eyes. From the hospital bed, Lily said, "Since you showed it to her, she hasn't cried once." The nurses can't believe it. Grandmother Rose had a point. Magic rattle. I rearranged the infant's blanket. Daniel came in carrying coffee and appeared more at ease than he had in months. After accepting full responsibility for his role in the baby shower incident, he was hired by his firm. It seems that humility carried a long way. Quietly, he continued, "Your mother is in the lobby." Lily moaned once again. "Have you informed her? She's being held there by security." He gave me a cup. "It's your call, Clara. Carol Eleanor is making quite a commotion downstairs." And my phone buzzed. "Something regarding the rights of grandparents. Let her make it," I answered, watching my niece fall to sleep. The preceding 3 months had been a study in repercussions. Mother had actually lost her house, relocating to a modest flat that scared her social group. Lily and Daniel had began marriage counseling, addressing the harm that financial hardship and familial dysfunction had done, and I had learned to create boundaries. The trust funds are formed, I informed Lily, laying my coffee down, but the conditions continue. She gave a nod. No communication with the mother until her therapy is over. We retain separate holidays and cannot touch the funds without first obtaining financial counseling. She gave a sorrowful grin. No more compelled family get-togethers. The infant gazed while making the little sounds that babies make. After taking a picture, Daniel showed his phone mother pacing the lobby and making crazy gestures at the medical personnel. "She will always be the same," Lily remarked quietly. No, I concurred. However, we did. Messages from the family group chat flooded my phone. I had never been gone. Emily Eleanor, a cousin, is blogging about not being allowed to see her grandchild. Shall we tell her? Restraining orders don't work that way. Perhaps she ought to have thought about it, Uncle Peter, before threatening Clara in her office. The treatment visits are paid for in advance, Aunt Carol. She has decided not to go. I turned off the conversation to concentrate on the infant. Her nose was Lily's, Daniel chin, and, ideally, none of the family's propensity for manipulating emotions. I've been thinking about it, Lily remarked, shifting her stance on names. Tell me, please, that Eleanor Jr. is no longer on your mind. No. She and Daniel looked at each other. After Grandma, Margaret was on our minds. The baby moved, and the rattle clinked quietly. At last, I remarked. She'd enjoy that. Lily paused. You should be our godmother. Are you certain? I may be too busy with my calculating cold profession. We want you specifically for that reason. Daniel took a seat on the edge of the bed. She needs to learn that being successful is not a sign of weakness. We noticed a disturbance outside. Through the door came Mother's voice. I insist on seeing my grandchild. Safety. Quickly reply to it using the window. As she objected, we saw her escorted out with her fancy counterfeit bags flapping madly. You know what's very depressing? Lily held young Margaret in her arms. She may be here at this very moment. She only needed to ask for assistance. Some people prioritize their pride over their peers. I picked up the rattle, its silver surface reflecting our small group. But that's no longer our concern. It was the final buzzing of my phone. David Eleanor is threatening to fight the restraining order again. Let her. I typed back. Some battles aren't worth winning after you've already won the war. Lily touched my arm. Thank you. Not just for the trust fund or the infant staff for providing me an opportunity to be better us, Daniel corrected. A chance for us to be better. Little Margaret yawned, entirely oblivious to the familial turmoil whirling around her. She would grow up knowing a new type of love, one that didn't come with price tags or stipulations. Do you want to hold her once more? Lily inquired. Feeling her soft weight rest against my chest, I dropped to my knees. I rocked her as the rattle chimed quietly. You know, I said, when it comes to family, Grandma Rose used to remark that it is not about blood. When the money is gone and the masks are off, it's about who remains. Wise, Daniel said. She was. Margaret would be pleased with us, I thought as I saw her eyelids flutter shut, for finally understanding what true family means, not for the money or the success. Mother's automobile left just tire marks and injuries when it pulled out of the hospital parking lot, leaving pride behind. But here in this chamber, with the silver rattle glinting in the sunlight and fresh starts emerging, we had everything we really needed. Your chosen family may occasionally be better than the one you were born into. Furthermore, the best retaliation isn't always retaliation at all. It's about letting go, loving better, and living well.